that is basically my summary of why I believe, and I think why Jordan Peterson believes, and a lot of people believe, that Nazis are not given a pass, and they shouldn't be given a pass, of course, but neither should all these socialist and communist regimes who murdered hundreds of millions more people than the Nazis did. They should never be given a pass. Yet they are, and I think Jordan Peterson is right. I think that's the reason why. I think that's the reason why they are given a pass, and we need to change that. And I think only through education we have a chance to change Keith from Patriot Warrior Media, and in keeping with the new direction of my channel, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that has mystified me for a little while now, and maybe it has to you too. So anyways, hopefully this will clear up something that has been intriguing and that I've always wondered about. And I particularly started wondering about it when I went to May Day protests in Oakland last year, probably 4,000 or 5,000 people marching, but not that big of an event. And then I believe it was May the 8th, I went to the Day Without Women protest at UC Berkeley, and that was in 2017. And the thing that really shocked me, it really surprised me, was the prevalence of socialists and communists on campus. All these hammer and sickle flags everywhere, and it was just crazy. All these, socialist student groups or communist student groups, or just all over campus. And it's like they took over the Day Without Women's March and made it a day with socialism. So, and I always wondered, well, any way that you do the numbers, it's always going to come up that socialist and communist regimes have always, or have in the past, murdered more people than Nazi Germany during that time ever did. So, and people will quote you from anywhere from 3 to 6 million probably on the as far as people that were murdered during the Nazi regime. You will get numbers anywhere from probably 60 to 200 million as far as how many people were murdered under the different socialist regimes. Like, people will tell you that Chairman Mao maybe murdered 100 million of his own people. It might have been closer to 40 million during his great leap forward, hard to say. Pol Pot will, maybe he murdered 1 to 3 million people. More recently, Ukraine, I'm not sure how many people died as a result of that recent history. Then, of course, in Russia between 1919 to 1959, again, anywhere from, 20 to 60 million people, maybe a higher depending on who you talk to. But I think it's pretty clear that more than probably 20 to 25 times more people were murdered under socialists and communists than ever were by the Nazis. So why is it that people are so willing to give them a pass, but not the Nazis? So I always wondered about that, especially from, that May 4th, the Day Without Women parade or protest especially. When I started to realize more and more just how prevalent this ideology was in, the Bay Area. Anyhow, so I finally, heard the best answer that I've ever heard, explained by, Dr. Jordan Peterson, who was a big part of my red pilling process back in late 2016 and 2017. And to this day, I still watch a lot of his videos or snippets of his videos. His lectures can sometimes be hard to digest unless you have a certain level of knowledge. given that many of them are for PhD students, are geared towards having a higher level of education than I have received. So anyway, and I'm borrowing this from a lecture. I can't even think of the name of the university. It slips me at the moment, but I'll go ahead and I will put the link in there. It's about an hour and a half, so I'll kind of try to boil it down a little bit, or put my take on the 3-minute section where he talked about why people are forgiving of socialism and not of Nazi Germany. So you don't have to listen to the whole hour and a half if you don't want to. I still think it's a pretty fascinating lecture, and with questions and answers, things like that. So I'll put it there and link in the description. So anyhow, the question is, and I'll repeat it again, why are Nazis, and why is that regime so universally hated, yet all the other regimes that killed 20 times more people through socialism and communism, why are they given a free pass by the left, and probably just by the progressive left? I don't know if there's any real actual conservatives or libertarians or anybody on the right that would actually do that or give them a pass, but I didn't want to go there. So anyways, so as Jordan Peterson kind of laid it out, and I'll do my best at it here, but back in like 1918, the Industrial Revolution was in full swing. The Russian Revolution was going on. There was a huge disparity between the haves and have-nots. It was just, there was so much poverty, and it was horrible. So I think that first off, that a lot of, or at least in the beginning with socialism, it kind of started from a place of benevolence, a little bit. I mean, wanting to help the downtrodden. Looking at this extreme poverty, and the extreme differences between those who had and those who didn't. And I think it came from a place of people wanting to, a certain amount, wanting to help people and help lift people out of this poverty. I mean, who can't get behind that? Wherever you are, however exalted you are in your social status, your economic status, political status, anything like that, you see something that's bad enough, you see extreme poverty, and it pulls out your heartstrings. You can't help but kind of get behind that. So the same can't be said for the Nazi regime. You cannot, I don't think you can make an intellectually honest argument that it started from a place of benevolence. So, but you can, I think, at least initially, with socialism and communism. So I think that's maybe the beginnings of why many give them a free pass. Kind of a reaction to the extreme poverty and the difference between those who had and didn't, kind of gave birth to this whole kind of universal feeling of of a brotherhood and egalitarianism, and I think another reason why people it can kind of be argued that initially they didn't really know what they were getting into. Socialists really didn't know what they were getting into in the beginning. They didn't start from this place of, we're going to murder and take over the entire world. Even one of the biggest offenders was Chairman Mao and his great leap forward. And their whole thing was not, I'm not going to get into a lot of details. I actually took a lot of notes and was kind of preparing to do a video about this a while back. Haven't gotten around to it, but maybe I will get around to it because it's pretty fascinating. So anyways, the great leap forward, I'm not even going to, at this point, I'm not even going to try to put the date of any of this, but I think it was about a decade, no, probably even more than that. But Chairman Mao instituted a lot of different policies to try and move his country forward and catch up to what was going on in the Western world. And on the surface, I think you can look at his ideas and go, okay, wow, not bad ideas, but it kind of was the implementation of those ideas that ultimately led to mass starvation. It led to, in a different way than happened in Russia, between 1919 and 1959, which I'm not even going to get into that right now. But you had, well, let's just stop it right there. This will take way too long if I'm going to try to explain the Great Leap Forward. So maybe I do need to do a video about that, because it's pretty important, and I think it underscores how a leader can start with the right thoughts and then not be prescient enough to follow it through to its logical conclusion, or if there is any logical conclusion that you can follow it through. And I would imagine that Chairman Mao maybe didn't realize at the time what the outcome was going to be. Not only did 40 to 100 million of his own people die, which probably was not looked at as a good thing, and there was certainly definite consequences for him, not just for his people. So had it worked, it would have been a good thing. It didn't work, and it was a very bad thing. So, it's a prime example where they started for the right reason and got way the hell off track. Again, that just underscores my the idea, that that's possibly why socialists and communists are given a free pass to a degree, because again, they started with in the right place, with their hearts possibly in the right place, at least maybe partly, and then got way off track. So, prime example. It's real easy to get behind the downtrodden, to get behind poverty-stricken people, you can see why there's such a huge push to, we've all heard the term oppression Olympics, to get behind people who are being oppressed, and so much so that it's to a fault, and it's caused a huge problem. We've all heard the term, I'll get into equality of outcome in a minute. It's really easy to look at and say, racial superiority, wrong. Nobody gets confused about racial superiority and how that is that ideology is bad, it's horrible. So, but you tell someone equality of outcome wrong, or really, really wrong, and you're going to get, 2/3 of the people listening to you scratching their head and going, what? Even if they've heard of equality of outcome, they may not realize exactly what equality of outcome is, and what, or they may have heard of equality of opportunity and kind of think that the two terms are interchangeable. What is equality of opportunity? Well, that's more obvious. Equality of opportunity is everybody should be given an equal opportunity to succeed or fail based on their own merits, based on their own efforts, based on sometimes a little bit of luck, good luck or bad luck. But everybody should be given an equal opportunity. Period. That's it. And what you do with that opportunity is it's on you. The responsibility is on you. So anyway, what you do with your opportunity is totally 100% up to you. So what is equality of outcome, and why is that so horrible? So this is the other thing. It's so much easier to, again, understand the, Nazis bad, or, racial superiority bad, but when you get to like some of the far left wing, ideology, it takes more brain power. You got to kind of think about that before you can, automatically go, yeah, right, before you can subscribe to that. So when someone says equality of outcome bad, people aren't immediately going, yeah, clapping, I agree. It's like, okay. People are going, okay, so what is equality of outcome? Well, again, I'm not going to really get into it a lot here, but I'm going to try to get the basics without completely butchering it. So equality of outcome, to my understanding, is that everybody is guaranteed a certain equal outcome. So regardless of what you do, regardless of your efforts, regardless of anything, you should be having, or you should have, and you should be guaranteed, guess by who? By the government, of course, you should be guaranteed to have the same results as anybody else. Now, you say that you are a person who, you live in a nice place, you've got a nice job, you have enough to protect your family, you have enough to care for your kids, all those kind of things, because you made the right decisions, you applied yourself, you went to school, you didn't skip out on school, you studied, you did your homework, you put off instant gratification for the future, for your future. And, as you grew up, you maybe went to college and you applied yourself and you were disciplined and you made some right choices. You had some good luck. And suddenly you find yourself, whatever, in your middle ages and you've got a family and you're fairly comfortable. Then I think that you deserve some of the fruits of your labor. And I think most people would agree. Most people on the right certainly would agree. And truth be told, probably a lot of people on the left would agree to that. It's probably just the far left or the radical left who would disagree with me at this point, I think. So then you've got the other guy who, again, maybe he had some bad luck, maybe not. I mean, everybody has good luck, everybody has bad luck. Maybe he didn't apply himself, maybe he skipped out on school, maybe decided to go for, maybe he decided to go for instant gratification and play video games and maybe sell drugs on the street corner to get money the easy way, to get what he wanted the easy way. And, it can just be a total, just a lot of bad decisions, just one after another, that can really shape someone's future. And suddenly you've got a person who is homeless now. So equality of outcome says, no, that's wrong. Number one, the only reason why the first person I talked to was sitting at the top of this hierarchy is because of oppression. Not because he made the right decisions, but because he oppressed somebody. The second person I talked to that in the end became homeless in this example, he is only at the bottom of the hierarchy because of oppression, because he has been oppressed. So because you've got the oppressor, the rich guy, oppressing the poor guy, leaving out any other information applicable to that situation, because you have that dynamic, because you've got that hierarchy in place, that means that the only logical thing, the only fair thing to do here is to even it up. How can you even it up? You take money, if necessary, by force, from the guy who made all the right decisions, because obviously he didn't make the right decisions. He got there because he did it illegally. He got there because of an oppressive white patriarchal system. So you take his money and you disperse it to the person who is homeless, who has less than. You equal everything out. Not just with the one person, but with everyone. So you've got about 325 million people in the U.S., something like that. And there is a huge disparity between those who have and have not. Obviously, that's not news to anybody. So the radical left, socialists, they will have you, if they have it their way, they will take and they will redistribute all that, not only the income, but they're going to redistribute the wealth. In other words, everything that they have accumulated, everything that their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents or whoever had accumulated and passed down to them, they will take that as well and redistribute that so that everybody has the same amount of everything. So rather than, say, Bill Gates, I'm going to use a really extreme example here. So say that Bill Gates makes $100 a year, and you've got one guy who makes $1 a year. Okay. So rather than, or you've got a whole bunch of people, that make $1 a year, 100 people. Okay. So rather than finding some way of helping those people who only make $1 a year, let's just take away everything from Bill Gates, and so now he has $1, or maybe he has $2, and everybody else has $2 now. Equal outcome. Everybody's equal. Problem solved. Right. So what have you done here? You haven't really helped the other guys, the poor guy's life, really. But you have destroyed Bill Gates' life. And not only his life, you have destroyed the reason or purpose for anybody to actually accumulate anything. And so you say, okay, who cares? Who cares if you accumulate wealth? I mean, what's the big deal? Who cares if anybody accumulates wealth? I'm not you say, well, I'm not a materialistic kind of guy or kind of gal, so I don't really care about money. I don't really care about wealth. Well, here's the problem. Wealth is a byproduct of what you create or what you make or what you do. For example, in Silicon Valley and all the advances that we've had, technology. I mean, you guys are all watching this because of the benefits of technology, whether you're on your smartphone, your laptop, or desktop, or whatever. Smartwatch, I don't know. But you're taking advantage of all the advances in technology that people have done. People do that. People innovate. People think. People become great and have great inventions because they want to better their lives. They want to better their families' lives. So that's what has caused, our America to be such a powerhouse. But if you're going to go and you're going to say, okay, great, you invented this great thing, you've made all our lives better, fine, now give us all your money. It's like, why try? Why struggle? Why would Bill Gates, for example, ever want to do anything else, ever want to create? You just took everybody who does anything good, or who, I don't know if that's the right term, but you just made it where there's no reason to innovate, there's no reason to get better, there's no reason to push forward, there's no reason to be competitive, and that will destroy our country. That will destroy the Western world. That is the fallacy of equality of outcome, probably as best as I can kind of put it to words right now. And I'm not even sure if I've even explained that well or covered that very well. But just having a bunch of people here, just having a bunch of ethnicities here, does not guarantee that there's going to be diversity of ideas. It doesn't guarantee that there's going to be competition. That doesn't guarantee that we're going to move forward as a society, and that it doesn't guarantee any of that. You've got to give people a reason, and that reason is betterment of their lives, bettering their families' lives. And equality of outcome takes that reason away, and it would literally destroy this country. So, you can easily, say, racial superiority wrong, and people will get behind that. They understand that. That's easy. It just takes no brain power to understand that. But like I've just explained, you say equality of outcome wrong, people are like, what? That kind of left-wing ideology needs to be explained. So that's what, socialism was all about. It's all about a dominance hierarchy. Everything is to them is some kind of hierarchy. Other hierarchies could be beauty, and whatever typical standards happen to be today, you've got people at the top for whatever reason, and you've got people at the bottom, not because they have good genes, which is probably the worst example, but not because they took care of themselves or anything like that, not because they ate right, they exercised, No, the only reason why you've got who society deems as beautiful people at the top of that hierarchy is because of oppression. They are oppressing the people at the bottom. That's the only reason. Not because maybe people at the bottom weigh 350 pounds and have bad skin and they don't take care of themselves and they can't walk 3 steps without huffing and puffing and they're chain smokers, and not because of any of that, but because they are oppressed by the oppressors. That's the only reason. No other logical reason. So, there's, obviously income hierarchies, and sports, there's hierarchies. I mean, everything, there's all these dominance hierarchies everywhere. And just because someone's on the top and just because someone's on the bottom does not mean oppression. In fact, it probably rarely does. Obviously, there's isolated examples, but as far as systemic oppression, no, not happening. So, again, a lot of the socialism, it started with the idea of, in the beginning at least, to let's help the oppressed, let's help the downtrodden, let's help those who don't have. And clearly they went way off the rails, but I think that is one of the reasons why people are so willing to give socialism, to give, what's going on, even in recent examples, what's going on in Venezuela. They will give that government a pass. Part of it, of course, is people's lack of understanding of history and what happened in the last century. Clearly, that's part of it. It's not being taught in schools, especially when you have all these Marxist professors that are teaching this garbage. In fact, I want to give a shout out to the Red Elephants and Vince here, who started a Facebook page, Film Your Marxist Professor. I believe it's called Film or Video Your Marxist Professors. I'll find the link to that. I'm not sure. I've never actually seen the page, but Sergan of Akkad was talking about that. And so I didn't know if it was up and running yet. It's obviously up and running. I'm going to link it on this video so you guys can take a look at it. And you guys can watch these videos, and you're going to see why our education system is in such a miserable, miserable state. And in fact, I'll probably end up doing a video on that as well. But so that's, Film Your Marxist Professors or something like that. Link in the description. So I'm hoping that I pretty much covered what I want to say here. I went over quite a bit more than I expected to. But that is basically my summary of why I believe, and I think why Jordan Peterson believes, and a lot of people believe, that Nazis are not given a pass, and they shouldn't be given a pass, of course, but neither should all these socialist and communist regimes who murdered hundreds of millions more people than the Nazis did. They should never be given a pass. Yet they are, and I think Jordan Peterson is right. I think that's the reason why. I think that's the reason why they are given a pass, and we need to change that. And I think only through education we have a chance at changing that. So, anyways, again, this is Keith from Patriot Warrior Media, and I appreciate you guys hanging around. Hopefully you caught all this video, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you very much.